everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today I have something here I've honestly always wanted to do. We've been lucky to have so much Wings of Fire content in the form of 15 main series novels, with more on the way, bonus books, activity and guidebooks, short stories, and even a TV show coming down the line. And to make the experience of being a Wings of Fire fan even greater, we've also been getting graphic novel versions of all the books. We finally get to see iconic moments and characters illustrated. However, as awesome as graphic novels are, the biggest downside is that they're unfortunately not able to include every moment from the book they're based on. It simply takes too much work to translate every piece of dialogue and moment. And while some scenes being cut is understandable, there actually end up being really important moments that get left out. So today, I'll be talking about some of the biggest and best Wings of Fire scenes that haven't gotten included in the graphic novels so far. Obviously, I can't touch on everything, but these are just really the ones that had me shocked, considering how major, enjoyable, or interesting some of them are. But before we begin, a huge shout out to my patrons. Dragonet95, Slightest Wild, Fizz, Thistle, Noobto, and Pyronuke. Thank you all so much for supporting me. Links to those social medias are in the description down below. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. The first deleted scene that we're going to be talking about today is honestly the biggest of them all. It's noticeable right off the bat for anybody who already read the main book for the Dragonet prophecy. The entire prologue is missing. Instead of starting off with Vidur's death, we begin with Clay's hatching. There's no grand escape and introduction to Wings of Fire. In fact, this abrupt skip left graphic novel only readers confused and a little bit feeling like they were just thrown into the story. In fact, we never even get a mention of Vidur, despite his importance and relevance at the beginning of the story. It's a huge bummer that this scene wasn't included, especially considering it's one of my favorite in the series. It had me invested right off the bat. We don't know anything for sure. Many fans speculate this prologue was left out due to its violence. However, nothing has ever been said about it, so the real reason does remain a mystery. I think the first graphic novel really does take a hit from this cut scene. In the Dragonet Prophecy's graphic novel, various things that could be considered inappropriate were altered and or removed. For example, in the original book, Dune says to the other Guardians, "I told you not to teach them that horrible bar song." However, in the graphic novel, the word bar is missing. One of, I believe, 2 indirect references in the series to alcohol. Tsunami mentioning that she thinks her scales change color to attract mates was also removed. Various injuries and deaths were also left out of the Dragonet prophecy as well, such as Tsunami dislocating her shoulder, or Scarlet eating Mushroom the Scavenger. I actually understand that last one the most out of all the changes. It's much more brutal than just reading about it, especially when you're unaware that they're humans. When it comes to Lost Heir's graphic novel changes, we receive yet another difference. Only this time, instead of it being a lack of a prologue, we get an entirely brand new one. The book actually started off with showing us Webb escaping from the Talons of Peace. Here, however, we begin with the young Tsunami and Starflight reading The Missing Princess. Not a super bad change, honestly. I think it does give some pretty good context for what's to come. It's the change of beginning I'd expect from a project. I wonder if Tui was maybe unhappy with what she chose to the Lost Heir's original prologue, or if it was a Scholastic or even Mike Holmes' decision to go a different route. In the Brightest Night graphic novel, some dialogue between Peril and Scarlet is removed entirely. In the book, this conversation started with Scarlet saying, "It sounds to me like you've forgotten who your queen is." Then Peril replied, "It sounds to me like you've forgotten who has the scale-melting talons here." I honestly really love this interaction, as it showed why I love both characters. It was a huge shame to see it get on the chopping block. But again, they do have to only include what's necessary to get those graphic novels out for us, as cool as a moment may be. For Moon Rising's graphic novel, in the very beginning, we also get a change. Coral thinks about her uncertainties for Anemone to be part of the Jade Mountain Academy, whereas in the book, she was verbal about them. I think this was a weird alteration, honestly. Maybe it was to cut down on some space with a potential or a pry of frustration from Anemone, but it really goes against Coral's character and how open she is about her concerns. Which would make us feel more sympathy for Anemone at first, knowing that she probably had to deal with her mom saying that kind of stuff a lot. One that many fans missed and discussed when the graphic novel dropped is that the music case scene was entirely gone here. Again, this is another one that was such a shame. Its removal got rid of some quality time and development for our characters. That was a scene in which things were allowed to breathe, and it was memorable for a lot of people for that very reason. In my eyes, it was important enough to keep. There have been a lot of changes in the Wings of Fire graphic novels, but what do you think of my highlights? Are there any others that you caught and wish were still included? Let me know down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!